For most of human history, there were no doctors, no pharmacies, no pills, just people, and the land around them, and the knowledge passed down from every civilization who came before. And somehow, people healed. Scientists have now gone back and studied the exact plants those civilizations used. The results keep coming back the same way. They worked, not because of tradition, because of chemistry. Aspirin came from willow bark. A roadside weed outperformed a pharmaceutical wound dressing in a clinical trial. Ancient civilizations were treating anxiety with a flower, and modern neuroscience just figured out it works on the same receptors as prescription medication. Today we're looking at 20 medicinal plants that heal. Let's get into it. Number 1. Lavender. Close your eyes for a second and picture a field of purple flowers, swaying in a warm breeze, releasing that unmistakable smell into the air. That smell is not just pleasant, it is medicine. Lavender has been used for healing for at least 2,500 years. The Romans put it in their baths. Ancient Egyptians used it in the mummification process. Medieval healers sewed it into pillows and gave those pillows to people who couldn't sleep. And now neuroscientists have gone back and figured out exactly why it works. The main compound in lavender's scent is called linalool. When you breathe it in, linalool travels directly from your nose to your brain's limbic system, the part that controls emotion, memory, and fear. It acts on receptors called GABA receptors, which are the same receptors targeted by anti-anxiety medications like Valium. Lavender is not as strong as a pharmaceutical drug, but it works through the same doorway. A randomized controlled trial published in the journal Phytomedicine found that a lavender oil capsule called Silexin was as effective as low-dose lorazepam, a prescription anti-anxiety medication, for treating generalized anxiety disorder. Not almost as effective, with fewer side effects. There's also a 2015 study published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine showing that lavender aromatherapy significantly reduced anxiety in ICU patients during a stressful medical procedure. These were not people sitting quietly in a spa. They were in the hospital, anxious, and lavender moved the needle. Grow it in a pot by your window. Rub the flowers between your fingers before bed. Add dried lavender to a small cloth bag and tuck it under your pillow. The smell that has calmed humans for thousands of years is still doing it tonight. The science just finally caught up. Number 2. Aloe Vera. There is a plant so good at healing the skin that hospitals in some countries use its gel as a standard treatment for burns. It doesn't have thorns. It doesn't have flowers. It just sits there, quiet and green, holding something remarkable inside its thick leaves. Aloe Vera gel is made of over 75 active compounds, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and a unique polysaccharide called asamanin that no other plant produces in the same form. Here is what happens when you put fresh aloe on a burn or a cut. The gel forms a cooling barrier that reduces pain almost immediately. The asamanin activates immune cells in your skin called macrophages, which clear debris and start the healing process. Anti-inflammatory compounds called anthraquinones reduce swelling in the tissue, and the gel itself keeps the wound moist, which science now confirms is the key condition for fast, scar-free healing. A study in the Journal of the Medical Association of Thailand found that aloe vera healed second-degree burns almost 9 days faster than conventional gauze dressings. 9 days. That is not a small difference. That is a transformation. Aloe also works inside the body. Studies have shown that drinking a small amount of aloe vera juice reduces symptoms in people with irritable bowel syndrome, soothes acid reflux, and lowers blood sugar in people with type 2 diabetes. Keep a living aloe plant somewhere in your home. When you get a burn, a scrape, a rash, or a sunburn, snap off a leaf, split it open, press the cool gel directly onto the skin. You are holding something hospitals use. You just don't need a prescription. Number 3. Turmeric. This golden yellow spice has been used in Indian healing for over 4,000 years, not as a flavor, as medicine. The ancient Ayurvedic texts described turmeric as a cure for blocked channels, what we now call inflammation. They didn't have a word for inflammatory pathways, But they knew what turmeric did to the body. The active compound is curcumin. It works by blocking a molecule inside your cells called NF-κB, essentially the master switch for inflammation. When NF-κB gets turned on by injury, infection, stress, or bad food, it tells hundreds of genes to start producing inflammatory signals throughout the body. Chronic inflammation from that process is now understood to be the root of many serious diseases, including heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain cancers. Curcumin turns that switch down. A randomized trial published in the American Journal of Cardiology found that curcumin reduced the risk of post-surgery heart attacks by 65%. Other studies have shown it to be as effective as ibuprofen for knee pain from arthritis, without the stomach damage that ibuprofen causes with long-term use. But here's the thing most people miss. Curcumin alone barely absorbs into the bloodstream. You need black pepper. The compound in black pepper called piperine increases curcumin absorption by 2,000%. 2,000%. From a single pinch of black pepper. Grate fresh turmeric root into warm milk with black pepper and honey. Ancient healers called this golden milk. They were brewing this drink long before anyone knew what NF-κB was. They just watched it work. Number 4. Chamomile. In ancient Egypt, chamomile was so respected that it was dedicated to the sun god Ra and used in temple ceremonies. In Europe, monks grew it in monastery gardens as one of their most trusted healing plants. In Germany today, chamomile is approved by the government as an official medicine, something you can be prescribed by a doctor. Germany got there because the research kept coming back the same way. Chamomile contains a compound called apigenin. Apigenin binds to benzodiazepine receptors in your brain, the same receptors targeted by anti-anxiety drugs. It also reduces levels of cortisol, the stress hormone that keeps your nervous system in a state of alarm. And it promotes the release of glycine, an amino acid that relaxes your muscles and your nerves simultaneously. A clinical trial published in the journal Phytomedicine followed adults with generalized anxiety disorder over 8 weeks. The group that received chamomile extract had significantly lower anxiety scores, with effects comparable to pharmaceutical intervention. For sleep specifically, a double-blind study found that elderly patients who took chamomile extract fell asleep faster and woke up less in the night compared to the placebo group. Brew 2 chamomile tea bags in hot water for 5 minutes before bed. Cover the cup while it steeps, so the volatile oils don't escape with the steam. Drink it slowly and quietly. The monks who tended chamomile in their garden beds were not foolish. They were watching what it did to the people who drank it, and it did exactly what they thought it did. Number 5. Plantain leaf. Not the banana. This is a different plant entirely. A low, flat-leaved weed with ribbed leaves that grows in lawns, sidewalk cracks, and fields all over the world. Most people mow right over it, or pull it up, or spray it with weed killer. This plant has been used as first aid for thousands of years by healers on almost every continent. Plantain leaf, scientific name Plantago major, is one of the most powerful drawing plants in nature. When you crush the fresh leaf and press it onto a bug bite, a bee sting, a splinter wound, or a small cut, it pulls out toxins, reduces swelling, and stops itching often within minutes. The compounds responsible are called aucubin and actioside. They are potent anti-inflammatory molecules that interrupt the histamine response in the skin, the same response that makes insect bites swell and itch. Studies have confirmed that plantain leaf extract reduces histamine-driven inflammation and speeds up tissue repair. Plantain leaves are also antibacterial. A study published in the African Journal of Biotechnology found that plantain leaf extract inhibited the growth of several dangerous bacteria species, including Staphylococcus aureus, one of the most common causes of infected skin wounds. The next time you're outside and you get a bug bite or a small scrape, look down. If you're in any grassy or weedy area, there's a good chance plantain leaf is growing right near your feet. Pick a leaf, chew it for a few seconds to crush it and release the oils. Press it directly on the bite. This is not superstition. This is a molecular mechanism, and it works fast. Number 6. Lemon balm. Lemon balm smells like a gentle combination of lemon and mint. It grows easily, spreads happily, and has been used by healers in Europe and the Middle East for over 2,000 years. The ancient Greeks and Romans called it the bee herb because bees were so attracted to its flowers. But the humans who used it were interested in something else entirely, what it did to the mind. Lemon balm contains rosmarinic acid, a compound that blocks an enzyme called GABA transaminase, which normally breaks down GABA in your brain. GABA is your brain's primary calming neurotransmitter. When lemon balm blocks the enzyme that destroys GABA, your brain's natural calming signal stays active longer. This is a gentle, natural version of the mechanism used by prescription anti-anxiety drugs. A randomized trial published in Nutrients found that lemon balm extract significantly improved mood, reduced anxiety, and improved calmness in participants within 1 to 3 hours of taking it. A separate study focused on students preparing for exams found that lemon balm dramatically reduced self-reported stress and improved focus. For people dealing with low mood or nervous tension, the kind that doesn't require a prescription but still makes each day feel heavier than it should, lemon balm tea has a measurable effect. Brew it fresh if you can grow it. Add a small amount of honey. The taste is pleasant enough to drink every afternoon, and the rosmarinic acid working quietly in the background is doing something real. Number 7. Ashwagandha. There is a plant that has been used in Indian medicine for over 3,000 years, and its Sanskrit name translates to smell of the horse, because healers believed it gave you the strength and vitality of a horse. Modern researchers would say that's not far off from what they found. Ashwagandha is what scientists call an adaptogen, a plant that helps your body adapt to stress. It doesn't sedate you. It doesn't stimulate you. It helps your body find its way back to balance. The mechanism involves your HPA axis, the hormonal highway between your brain and your adrenal glands that controls the release of cortisol. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. In short bursts, it's essential. But when chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated all the time, it damages brain cells, disrupts sleep, weakens the immune system, and leads to burnout. Ashwagandha root extract reduces cortisol levels, in study after study, consistently. A double-blind, placebo-controlled trial published in the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine found that ashwagandha root extract reduced cortisol levels by over 27% in chronically stressed adults, while significantly improving scores for anxiety, depression, and quality of life. A second major trial found that ashwagandha improved resistance to physical and psychological stress, reduced C-reactive protein, a key marker of inflammation, and improved sleep quality. The dose used in most studies is 300 to 600 milligrams of root extract daily, not the whole plant, the concentrated root extract, the horse strength the ancient healers were talking about, the deep, calm, resilient energy, turns out to have a very precise cortisol-lowering mechanism. They just described it in the language they had. Number 8. Ginger. Ginger has been used as medicine in India and China for at least 5,000 years. It appears in some of the oldest medical texts ever discovered. And for most of that history, its primary use was simple: settle the stomach and fight inflammation. Science spent decades confirming both things are true. The key compounds in ginger are called gingerols and shogaols. They are powerful anti-inflammatory agents that work through multiple pathways, blocking prostaglandins that trigger nausea, inhibiting the same inflammatory enzymes that ibuprofen targets, and reducing oxidative stress in tissue. For nausea, the evidence is some of the strongest in all of nutritional medicine. A systematic review of 12 randomized controlled trials found that ginger significantly reduced nausea and vomiting in pregnancy, in chemotherapy patients, and in post-surgery recovery. It works as well as several prescription anti-nausea medications, and with no risk of side effects. The anti-inflammatory story is equally compelling. A randomized controlled trial published in Arthritis and Rheumatism found that ginger extract reduced knee pain and disability in osteoarthritis patients significantly compared to placebo. A separate study showed ginger reduced muscle soreness after exercise by 25%. Fresh ginger, grated into hot water with lemon and honey for nausea, sliced into stir-fries and soups for ongoing inflammation support, or simply kept as a root in your refrigerator for the moments when your stomach turns and you reach for something real. 5,000 years of healers reaching for the same root. Now we know exactly why. Number 9. Peppermint. Peppermint is one of the most studied medicinal plants in the world. It is old, a hybrid of watermint and spearmint that was first cultivated in England in the 17th century, though similar mints were used in medicine long before that. The ancient Egyptians used mint in their tombs. The ancient Greeks placed it on the tables of their banquets as a sign of hospitality and health. What modern research found is that peppermint's active compound, menthol, does something remarkable in the digestive system. When you take enteric-coated peppermint oil capsules, the kind that don't dissolve until they reach the intestines, the menthol relaxes the smooth muscle lining of the gut. Cramping stops. Gas moves. The sensation of pressure and discomfort that characterizes irritable bowel syndrome releases. A meta-analysis of 9 randomized controlled trials found that peppermint oil was significantly more effective than placebo at reducing the abdominal pain and symptoms of IBS. The effect was consistent and meaningful, not a trend, an actual improvement that patients noticed. For bloating and gas specifically, a cup of fresh peppermint tea after a heavy meal works through the same mechanism in a milder way. The menthol reaches the smooth muscle of the intestinal wall and tells it to relax. For headaches, peppermint oil applied to the temples and forehead has been shown in studies to be as effective as low-dose acetaminophen, working through cooling of the skin and the muscle relaxation that follows. Grow fresh peppermint in a pot on your windowsill. It spreads aggressively. It smells extraordinary. And a sprig in hot water after dinner is one of the gentlest, most effective digestive medicines in the world. Number 10. Fennel. Fennel is a tall, feathery plant with yellow flowers and seeds that taste faintly of licorice. It grows all around the Mediterranean. It has been used in cooking and healing for thousands of years. Ancient Roman soldiers ate fennel to stay strong. Ancient Indian healers gave fennel tea to babies with colic. And modern researchers have confirmed that the thing inside fennel responsible for both traditions is a compound called anethole. Anethole is an antispasmodic. It relaxes the smooth muscle that lines your digestive tract, the same involuntary muscle that goes into spasm when you have gas, bloating, cramping, or that terrible, uncomfortable feeling after a heavy meal. A study published in Alternative Therapies in Health and Medicine found that fennel seed oil eliminated colic in significantly more infants than placebo. Another study found that fennel extract reduced the severity of menstrual pain, which is also caused by smooth muscle spasm, comparably to ibuprofen. The anti-gas mechanism is particularly well understood. Fennel prevents the formation of gas in the gut by inhibiting bacteria that produce gas during fermentation. At the same time, anethole helps the gas that already exists move through the digestive tract more easily. Chew a small pinch of raw fennel seeds after a meal. This is a practice used in Indian restaurants across the world. Small bowls of fennel seeds sit by the exit, and diners take a pinch as they leave. It's not just breath freshening. It's an ancient digestive protocol backed by modern science. Number 11. Echinacea. Echinacea is a purple coneflower that grows in the meadows of North America. Native American tribes, including the Cheyenne, the Sioux, and the Comanche, used it as one of their most important medicines for over 400 years. They used it for everything from snake bites to infections to fevers. When European settlers arrived and started trading with native communities, Echinacea quickly became one of the most popular medicines in North America. By the early 1900s, it was the best-selling herbal supplement in the United States. Then pharmaceutical companies started creating synthetic drugs, and Echinacea got pushed to the sidelines. But the research never stopped. Here's what it found. Echinacea stimulates the immune system. Specifically, it increases the activity of macrophages, the white blood cells that are your body's first responders to infection. It also increases levels of a protein called properdin, which activates the part of your immune system that attacks bacteria and viruses. A systematic review of 14 clinical trials found that Echinacea reduced the risk of catching a common cold by 58%. And when people who took it did catch a cold, the duration was reduced by an average of 1.5 days. 1.5 days. That's not nothing. That's the difference between a cold ruining your week and barely affecting it. The key is timing. Echinacea works best when taken at the very first sign of a cold, that first scratchy throat, that first hint of fatigue. Take it immediately. Don't wait until you're fully sick. The Native American healers were right about when to use this plant, and the research confirmed it. Number 12. Garlic. Let's talk about a plant so powerful that medieval healers called it the poor man's medicine chest. So trusted that soldiers in World War I used it to disinfect wounds when they ran out of antiseptic supplies. So studied that it is one of the most researched foods in all of nutritional medicine. Garlic. The key compound is allicin, produced when you crush or chop a raw garlic clove, and two previously separated chemicals in the plant come into contact with each other. Fresh allicin is what makes your eyes water. It is also one of the most potent natural antimicrobials ever discovered. Studies have shown allicin is active against bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. It kills strains of bacteria that are resistant to multiple antibiotics. A study published in the journal Microbial Ecology and Health and Disease found that garlic extract was effective against 14 different strains of Staphylococcus aureus, including MRSA, the antibiotic-resistant version that hospitals struggle to treat. For the immune system, raw garlic increases the number and activity of natural killer cells, the immune cells specifically designed to hunt down viruses and abnormal cells. A randomized controlled trial found that people who took aged garlic extract over 90 days had significantly fewer colds, and when they did get sick, they recovered faster. 2 or 3 raw garlic cloves a day, crushed or chopped and allowed to sit for 5 to 10 minutes before eating. That resting time allows allicin formation to complete. Mixed into olive oil with a drizzle of honey if the taste is too strong. Medieval healers called it a medicine chest because it treated so many things. Molecular biologists are still cataloging all the reasons they were right. Number 13. Calendula. Calendula is a bright orange and yellow flower, also called pot marigold, that has been grown in healing gardens across Europe and the Middle East for centuries. It was used in ancient Rome, in medieval monasteries, and in Civil War field hospitals to dress wounds. What makes calendula remarkable is what it does to the wound itself. Calendula petals contain compounds called triterpenoids, flavonoids, and polysaccharides. Together, these 3 compound families do something that most wound-healing plants can't do simultaneously. They reduce inflammation, stimulate the growth of new skin cells called fibroblasts, promote new blood vessel formation in healing tissue, and kill the bacteria and fungi that could infect an open wound. A randomized clinical trial published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology found that calendula cream was significantly more effective than trolamine, a standard pharmaceutical wound dressing, at preventing and treating radiation-induced skin burns in breast cancer patients. A separate study found that calendula extract applied to surgical wounds significantly reduced healing time and reduced inflammation scores compared to petroleum jelly dressing. This is a flower, growing in a garden, outperforming pharmaceutical wound dressings in clinical trials. Make a simple calendula salve. Infuse dried calendula petals in olive oil for 6 weeks. Then mix with melted beeswax. Apply to cuts, scrapes, rashes, dry skin, chapped lips, and minor burns. The monks who tended these orange flowers in their monastery gardens were running one of the most effective wound care clinics in the world. They just didn't know the names of the compounds. Number 14. Arnica. Arnica is a yellow mountain flower that grows in the Alps and other high elevations. It has been used in European folk medicine for centuries, specifically for one thing: trauma, bruising, swelling, muscle soreness after injury. The mechanism was a mystery for a long time. Then researchers identified the active compounds, sesquiterpene lactones called helinolin and dihydrohelinolin. These compounds inhibit NF-κB, the master inflammation switch we talked about in the turmeric section. They also inhibit platelet activation, reducing the internal bleeding that causes bruising. And they reduce the production of cytokines, the chemical signals that your immune system sends out after injury to tell the body to swell. A double-blind randomized trial published in Rheumatology International compared Arnica gel to ibuprofen gel for hand osteoarthritis. The Arnica worked just as well as the ibuprofen for pain and function, with fewer side effects. A second study on marathon runners found that taking Arnica before and after a marathon significantly reduced post-race muscle soreness and inflammation markers in the blood. Arnica is available as a topical gel, cream, or oral pellets in homeopathic dosing. The topical form is the most studied and most consistently effective for bruising, muscle soreness, and joint pain. Important note: Arnica should not be applied to broken skin or open wounds. It is only for intact skin over bruised or sore tissue. The mountain flower that alpine healers used after falls and injuries turns out to be working on the same inflammatory pathway as some of the most commonly prescribed anti-inflammatory drugs. They just found it first. Number 15. Willow bark. Here we are. Number 15. There is a plant whose history is so deeply intertwined with pain relief that a pharmaceutical company bottled its active compound and created the most widely used drug in human history. Willow bark has been used by healers for at least 4,000 years. Ancient Egyptian medical texts prescribe it for fever and pain. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, recommended chewing willow leaves for the pain of childbirth. Native American tribes brewed willow bark tea for headaches, fever, and joint pain. In 1897, a chemist at Bayer named Felix Hoffmann synthesized the active compound from willow bark, salicin, into a modified, more stomach-friendly form. He called it aspirin. Aspirin became the most sold drug in the world, and the original source, the tree bark, is sitting forgotten in forests. Salicin from willow bark is converted in the body to salicylic acid, which inhibits the production of prostaglandins, the compounds responsible for pain, fever, and inflammation. It is a slower, gentler version of the aspirin mechanism, which means it works more gradually, but also causes less stomach irritation. A systematic review published in the American Journal of Medicine found strong evidence that willow bark extract reduced pain in lower back pain, osteoarthritis, and headache, with effects comparable to low-dose aspirin. Willow bark tea or extract is available in health food stores. If you're already taking aspirin or blood thinners, consult your doctor before adding willow bark. They work through the same pathway, and the effects can add up. Hippocrates told women in labor to chew these leaves. 4,000 years later, the compound inside them is still the most widely used pain reliever on Earth. The tree knew what it was doing long before we did. Number 16. Clove. If you have ever had a toothache and couldn't get to a dentist, there is a home remedy that actually works. It is older than dentistry itself, and it grows on a tree in Indonesia. Cloves contain one of the most powerful natural numbing agents ever found in a plant, eugenol. Eugenol works by blocking sodium channels in nerve cells, the same mechanism used by lidocaine, the local anesthetic that dentists inject before drilling. When sodium channels are blocked, nerve signals cannot fire. Pain signals cannot reach the brain. The area goes numb. Dentists have known about eugenol for over 100 years. It is still used in dental procedures today, in the material called zinc oxide eugenol paste, used to fill temporary cavities and pack dry sockets after tooth extraction. A study in the Journal of Dentistry confirmed that eugenol applied directly to a dry socket, one of the most painful dental conditions, produced significant pain relief comparable to pharmaceutical dry socket dressings. For immediate toothache relief, take 1 or 2 whole cloves, place them directly on the painful area, and hold them there. Let the eugenol release. You can also use pure clove essential oil applied with a small piece of cotton. Beyond dental pain, cloves are also powerfully antibacterial and antifungal. Studies show eugenol kills Streptococcus mutans, the bacteria that causes tooth decay. It kills Candida species, the fungi responsible for oral thrush. The plant that numbs the nerve is also killing the bacteria that damaged it in the first place. Ancient dentists who packed cloves into sore teeth were doing more right than they knew. Number 17. Thyme. Thyme is a small herb that smells wonderful in cooking. It grows in the rocky, dry soil of the Mediterranean. And for most of modern history, people thought of it almost exclusively as a seasoning for chicken and soup. But in Germany, where herbal medicine is taken far more seriously than in the United States, thyme has been an approved pharmaceutical medicine for cough and bronchitis since the 1980s. German doctors can prescribe it. Pharmacies sell standardized thyme extract alongside conventional cough medicines. The reason is a compound called thymol. Thymol is a natural bronchodilator. It relaxes the smooth muscle in the airways and helps them open. It also acts as a mucolytic. It loosens and thins mucus, making it easier to cough up. And it is a powerful antimicrobial that kills many of the bacteria and viruses responsible for respiratory infections. A clinical study published in Arzneimittelforschung, a respected German pharmaceutical journal, followed over 3,500 patients with bronchitis who took thyme IV syrup. Over 90% showed significant improvement in their cough symptoms within 2 weeks. A separate randomized controlled trial confirmed that thyme extract was as effective as an antibiotic for treating acute bronchitis, without contributing to antibiotic resistance. Brew a strong cup of thyme tea when you feel a cough or chest congestion coming on. Add honey, which has its own antimicrobial and soothing properties, and a squeeze of lemon. Drink it 3 times a day. This is the herb that German pharmacies have been bottling and prescribing for 40 years. You can grow it in a pot on your windowsill. The active compound is identical whether it comes from a pharmaceutical bottle or a fresh sprig. The herb doesn't know the difference. Number 18. Mullein. Mullein is a tall, dramatic plant with big, soft, velvety leaves and a tall spike of yellow flowers. It grows in fields and roadsides across North America, Europe, and Asia. Most people have walked past it 100 times. For respiratory healers across dozens of cultures, Native American, European, and Middle Eastern, mullein was one of the most important lung medicines they had. They smoked the dried leaves to open airways in asthma. They made tea from the leaves to clear mucus in bronchitis. They inhaled steam from mullein-infused water to soothe irritated lung tissue. The compounds that make mullein work are saponins, molecules that actively reduce the thickness and stickiness of mucus. When mucus becomes thinner, your cilia, the tiny hair-like structures lining your airways, can move it out of your lungs more efficiently. Saponins are also expectorant. They trigger the productive cough reflex that clears mucus from deep in the bronchial tubes. Mullein also contains rotenone and coumarin, which have antiviral properties shown in laboratory studies to be active against influenza and herpes simplex virus. A study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology confirmed mullein's traditional use by documenting its antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and expectorant properties in laboratory and animal research. Make mullein leaf tea. Steep 2 to 3 teaspoons of dried mullein leaves in hot water for 15 minutes. Strain carefully through a fine cloth. The tiny leaf hairs can irritate the throat if not removed. Add honey. Drink it when you have a chest cold, lingering cough, or that tight, congested feeling that sits behind your sternum and won't move. The soft leaves that generations of healers reached for when someone couldn't breathe freely are still in the field. They're still doing the same thing. Number 19. Ginseng. Ginseng root looks like a small, gnarled human figure. Ancient Chinese healers saw the resemblance and concluded it must be medicine for the whole person. They weren't wrong. Panax ginseng, the Korean and Chinese variety, has been used in East Asian medicine for over 5,000 years. The word Panax comes from the Greek word panacea, which means all healing. And while ginseng doesn't literally heal everything, the range of things it demonstrably helps is genuinely impressive. The active compounds are called ginsenosides, a family of steroid-like molecules unique to ginseng. They act on multiple systems at once: the adrenal axis for stress response, the central nervous system for focus and alertness, the immune system for infection defense, and blood sugar regulation for energy stability. The cognitive effects are the most studied. A randomized controlled trial published in Psychopharmacology found that Panax ginseng significantly improved working memory, mental processing speed, and calmness in healthy young volunteers within 6 hours of taking it. For physical energy, ginseng appears to work by improving oxygen utilization in muscle cells, not by stimulating the adrenal glands the way caffeine does, which means it doesn't cause a crash. A systematic review of 10 randomized trials confirmed that ginseng improved fatigue and physical performance without the stimulant cycle. American ginseng, Panax quinquefolius, works through similar ginsenosides but tends to be more calming, where Korean ginseng is more energizing. Both have strong evidence. The gnarled root that ancient healers said looked like a human being and therefore must heal the human being. They were working with intuition, not biochemistry. The ginsenicides they were after are real, and they work. Number 20. Cayenne Pepper. Here we are, the final plant, the one that burns. Cayenne pepper contains a compound called capsaicin. When you eat it or apply it to your skin, capsaicin binds to receptors called TRPV1 channels. Sensory receptors designed to respond to heat and pain. It activates them so intensely that it initially causes that burning sensation. But here is the remarkable thing that happens next. Prolonged activation of TRPV1 by capsaicin causes those receptors to desensitize. The nerve fiber that was sending pain signals temporarily stops responding to them. Pain decreases, sometimes significantly. This is why capsaicin cream is now an FDA-approved treatment for neuropathic pain, the chronic nerve pain from conditions like shingles, diabetic neuropathy, and arthritis. It is also used in a high-concentration patch administered by doctors for severe pain that hasn't responded to other treatments. But capsaicin also does something else entirely. It powerfully stimulates circulation. When you consume cayenne pepper, it triggers the release of substance P in blood vessels, which causes them to dilate. Blood flow increases to the extremities. Heart rate picks up slightly. The whole system warms and activates. This is why people with cold hands and feet and poor peripheral circulation often feel immediate relief from adding cayenne to their diet. Studies have also shown that capsaicin increases metabolic rate, temporarily boosting calorie burning after consumption, and reduces appetite. A small amount of cayenne pepper stirred into warm water with lemon and honey in the morning, or added generously to cooked food. The burn is real, but the circulation, the pain relief, and the metabolic activation underneath the burn are real too. The final plant on this list is the one that tells you exactly how it's working. You can feel it happening in real time. There is no other food like that. The sensation is the mechanism. Here's what I want you to take with you from this. Every single plant on this list is available to you right now, at a health food store, at a farmer's market, in your own backyard. Some of them are growing wild in cracks in the sidewalk. Plantain, dandelion, plants people spray and pull because they don't know what they're looking at. The oldest healing knowledge on earth isn't locked in a library, and you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars per month for these. They are simply growing outside under ordinary sunlight, producing compounds that human bodies have been responding to for thousands of years. You don't need to use all 20 plants at once. Pick one to start, the one that speaks to something you're dealing with right now. Anxiety? Start with lavender or chamomile. A nagging cough? Thyme tea. Joint pain that ibuprofen keeps masking without fixing? Try turmeric with black pepper. Getting sick constantly? Echinacea and garlic. Start there. Make it a habit. Watch what happens. Leave a comment with which plant on this list stood out to you the most. And if there's a plant from your family's tradition, your culture's history, or a plant your grandmother used that you think belongs on this list, share it in the comment. There may be others who benefit from what you have to share.